Hello and welcome. Welcome to Top of the World. I'm Simon. Behind me, to the side of me, is my Woodland sawmill. And today is the day we're going to cut up that big tree that we cut down. There's 3 sections just over there, but I was just sitting there admiring the beauty in which I sit in my sawmill building. There's my view. The sky is blue. And the trees have turned. We have my little fire burning over there. And yeah, I've been sawing for the last 2 days now. Or is it 3 days? Hello? What have you got there? What do you want me to do with that? Is that your wall? Is it? Right, let me show you where we're at. So this is now full. We've actually just been cutting some stuff that I cut down in March that's been in the yard. I have been so flat out busy. I just haven't had the time or the energy or been injury free enough to finish off. So that's from last year, but this is all this year's now stacked in there. I've been processing firewood. There's some firewood over here I can't process. This is the half-life stuff I took out the forest. That's, it's not even half-life, it's way less than half-life. But anyway, it needs to be put up, so I'm going to stack all of that so it continues to dry. I'm going to use that for my summer wood. I've got a couple of lengths there left to cut up. That's my firewood pile, which is a mixture of everything that's been coming in. And it is just a mix. There is some birch in there, but there's some dead stuff. There's sallow willow. Yeah, there's just a mixture of live and dead stuff in there. It's not the best firewood pile in the world, but it's more firewood than I had. So we got some birch in there that we took from the property with the cabin back there. There's all my boards. I've got to get them out and dry those. Anyway, we're into this, and what a job they were to lift onto that. Fortunately, I got them off with a forklift. Now, they're also impregnated with stones, so I took the liberty about an hour ago to count the rings. There's 152 definitive rings in there, so it's a minimum of 152 years old, but the tiny little sapling is almost impossible, so we could say probably 155, easy 155, maybe 157. So our job is to take this beautiful old tree, treat it with respect, get some of the bark off so that I'm not smashing my blades to pieces on the stones. I didn't have any choice but to drag them about on that stones. Firstly, you saw me cut it and I missed my mark, right? That's never good. And then it was just a fight to get them on. So whilst I can't actually see any stones penetrated into the bark, we know there must be, right? We know there must be. So we've got to maximise what we're doing with this. Normally I would cut this into as big a sections as I could, because it's very rare to have a tree this size. Very rare. We've had a few, but they're rare, few and far between. But we've got to get back out all the timber that we put into that cabin out of these 3 sections. So you can hear the jet fighters over there, the antagonists training away, doing their thing. Look at the beauty of just what has happened here. So what's the date today? I don't know if, is it the 30th to 31st of September? And I've got no coat on, no gloves on, and no hat on. So don't ask me what's going on, because I don't know. But what I do know is we should be frozen by now, and we're not frozen at all. You know, I think so far we've had 1 or 2 really light frosts. So normally this time of year, my ground is frozen and I'm dragging and clearing and I've still got grass. You know, over there, there's still grass, so I'm not... Anyway, so I've been burning my rubbish here over the course of the last few days. We put all that there in that concrete block. Right, I suppose really then we want to lift the first section on. Now I have got a well-used blade on there, which I've basically skinned everything in there with. And I put my big stops in ready to receive something large. Let's get one on and see where we go with it, I think. Anyway, for this machine, this is good size. Right, now I need to maximise every square inch of this, so I might run the top cut twice to see where I am with it. So I'm going to run out of wedge there. Let's see with the first cut what I'm going to achieve. Really beautiful. It's a really beautiful log. It's a really beautiful tree. Okay, I think what I probably want to do now is turn it 180 degrees and put this on the bottom and then cut the top so we got parallel. Very little wedge in this. That's almost a perfect line. Okay, that's the easy bit. Now the difficult bit is getting it on its 45, because I've got to get that parallel to those if I stand any chance of cutting everything I've got at 90 degrees. So I'm sure those of you that got wood misers, this bit's easy with the hydraulics, not so easy with a big machine with no brakes. Alright, let's see if I can turn it and set it up and get the wedge out ready for the next cut. got this wedged up quite a bit because there's quite a wedge in this bottom section. See, I've got a 2-inch block under that end to keep it up to counteract that. So that's the bottom section. So I finished the top the middle section and the top section. They're both there. So what I've decided to do is to skin them before I put a new blade on. But I have had to sharpen the blade that I was on, but it's running true and it's done really well, so I'm going to continue with it. So whilst I was having a bit of lunch, I've sharpened the blade. So I have just resharpened this, but I definitely, I definitely hit a stone. So I'm gonna just need to touch it, but I'm not gonna be using this. This has got now 7 hours on it. So I'm just gonna touch it up with a sharpener, but when I start to rip this down into the sizes that I want, I am going to put a new blade on for these 3 pieces. I know there's machines that fit on the end of chainsaws, battery drivers, dedicated machines to take the bark off. However, I don't do enough of it to warrant the cost. Also, it makes a mess, like a real mess, and then you need gloves and goggles and hat, and then the mess is everywhere. I can just wake this up now, put this straight on the fire, cleaned up, and it's not sprayed all over the place. So I know there's machines that you can take the bark off, but I do it like this and then just moan about my shoulder and my sprained wrist and all the other things that I've got. Okay, that's beautiful. Let me show you this. So we have got quite a lot of sides now. Some of them are quite beefy. So what do you do with all this, Simon? Well, this is all firewood. So this is summer 2027. So that's interesting fact. I've been cutting these now for a few years. This year was the first year we fired the furnace from beginning of May until 1 week ago solely on this. Not a single log or a piece of birch went in that furnace. Just this. This over here. So I'm going to clear all that lot up. That'll all get stacked and aired. And then next spring it'll get cut up and it'll go in for summer heating. I've used so many stillages this summer of this, and then I have next summer's already cut up and drying, and that way we don't use any of our valuable wood for through the summer. So the beginning of the summer you still need to have the furnace running a bit. At the end of summer you still need to have the furnace running a bit, evenings. It also, all our water is fired from the furnace. So here we go. This here, this is all next summer's firewood, and then this huge pile, I don't know if you've seen underneath there. Right, this is all that half-life or dead wood I took out the forest that was been lying on the floor. This is all drying. This is all summer wood. So you wouldn't want to survive minus 25, minus 30 with that, although you could if you had nothing else. And here's all our prime firewood drying for next winter out there. But this is amazing. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect for summer heating. Right, that'll do us for now. I'm going to clear that off there. Well, it's morning, and it's been a few days. Sunday, it rained all day. Yesterday, Monday, I had to do a 12-hour round trip to the city to see the dentist, the orthodontist, the new one. Why is that then, Simon? Because you've got new teeth? No, what I got is plastic replacements that are bad, to say the least. Yeah, dentists. Anyway, so my poor dog, he spent the entire day yesterday in the van, didn't you, bud? And no ball. It's a long day for everybody, right? 12 hours to the city, just for a dentist appointment. So this morning, over the last few days, the leaves have really come off the trees. This morning we're going to put a new blade on the sawmill. Ah, oh my God. I don't know why I do that. Oh, that shoulder. It's so torn up. Yeah, I know, I should just not use my hand, right? We're going to put a new blade on the sawmill, and we're going to cut up those 3 sections that we've now cleaned up and debarked. Because this is my final few days in the yard to do all the jobs I've got to do before the snow hits. To be honest, we're only a few days, going on the last 10 years, a few days from when the snow should land. That's not going to be true, although I do know up in the mountains up the road they are forecasting snow, the first snow for tonight. So, and I say up in the mountains, we are already really a long way above sea level. We are quite high here ourselves, but even higher up they're expecting snow on the tops of the mountains. So we know we're there. I'll show you what's happened in the last 48 hours. Look at all the leaves. I have to go down like this. I can't show you that. We're not there yet. Anyway, so they're coming off in significant numbers now. Did you have a long day yesterday, bud? Yeah. And normally, his tail's going. It can be fun when we're on our own. He can have the window down. And he can say hello to the horses and the sheep and the moose and anything else that we pass. But my Sarah came with us, so he has to sit in the middle and in the van, so it's not so good for him. Anyway, okay. So you can see everything's still set up. I'm still working through my log pile. I've moved the tractors off the pallet. I knew I shouldn't have done that because what have I done? I forgot to take my studs out. I knew I shouldn't have done that. So now I've got to pick them back up with the forklift and remove all my studs because we need those. And then the idea is I'm going to put a couple of bearers down there and all this stuff here is going to get stacked up and aired. Why is there a piece of metal in there? There shouldn't be no metal in there. Oh, it's a coat hanger. Okay. Weird. And we're going to stack that there, only a few deep, because obviously we're going to push snow all the way up this area. Anyway, our task, I'm getting distracted again. Our task is to put a new blade on that, fire her up, and then cut these down. Put that in there, because that's also scrap. So this has only been down a few days. Are we seeing any cracking already? Thankfully no. Or maybe a minor one in the middle there, maybe. So we want to get that all cut up into the sizes that I want it into. Wrong way around. Anyway, it's not the wrong way around now. Right, I had to have a bit of a thinking time there to decide what I want to do with this. So this is the bottom, about 157-year-old tree. I can give it another 150 years if I cut it into 2x4s and use it for the framing for this building over here. I've got some framing for that building over there, but nowhere near enough. That block alone makes 24 2x4s. Right, plus I've got another 8 on the floor, which gives me 32 2x4s, which actually does half, well, one side and the back of the new tractor building over there. Right, and it might give me some gable sections too. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn this bottom section into all 2x4s. And in order to do it, right, it's tight. In order to do it, I've got to slab it 6 ways down. And then stack them down, then turn them back up, and then cut them the other way. So I'm going to cut them into the 2-inch sections, because that's exactly right, and then stand them up and slice them into the 4-inch sections. That's the most efficient way, and I can get exactly 24, and then with those I'll get, what will I get, 32 2x4s. And that uses everything from that bottom section. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Okay, I just want to pull this out of here, right, and I broke that now. That's my last one. And do you know, the sad thing is yesterday I actually had a new one in my hand, and I was thinking about it. It's like, oh, I keep buying these things. I don't need one. I got one. Well, it's just broke. Okay. And the reason it's broke is because I needed to show you this. So I'm going to get some questions on this. You've stood two up like that, Simon. Why have you only got two? Why don't you put the whole pack on? Because it'll snap the blade. Right, and not even going to discuss the fact why it will snap the blade, because they jiggle about and it snaps the blade. Will you snap the blade on two? No. Will you snap the blade on three? Unlikely. Four, yes. Okay, and then the other issue I've got is because of the different lengths of the stops, dogs on the back, I've got to cut one 4-inch strip, and then I've got to take that one out and that one out, but I need them in to hold them stable. So I've got to cut two pieces and then reset and then go again. And this is the difference between a manual system like this on the Woodland mills or other basic saws and something like the Woodmiser LT40, where everything is hydraulic. You can put more pressure, you could probably stack more. And I'm doing it like this to save my blade, to make sure I maximise my wood. Takes more time. Right, it's my time. I'm not working this commercially. This is all for me. So in order to make sure I absolutely get everything out of this pile that I know I can, this is how we got to do it. So we've got to cut one 4-inch strip, reset the rear dogs, and then cut the next one, or maybe two, and then reset for the final one, and then put another two up, and then another two up, and then we can get into these and slice one end off square and get two out of each one of these. And now my thing's broke. Great. Come on, not today. Okay, as I've said, 34, half a pack of 2x4s, really nice, really straight, got my sticks in there. It's going to air well, it's going to dry well and quick, and that's the bottom section. So if you take your time and you calculate the situation at the start. Yeah, a few of them have got their corners missing, won't make no difference for framing. There's a good pack of framing there. That's the best pack of framing. I've got this pack over here, but it's fir, and this is pine. Structurally much stronger. Okay, so that leaves us the middle section and the top section. So we'll go and have a cup of coffee, and then we'll have a measure up and see if we continue the excellent work. Okay, so I've now off camera cut up the top section of the tree. And don't ask me how it's worked out. I mean, I know that I canted the sections into what I thought would work best for me, but anyway, so that is the bottom and the top section, and out of that I have got 54 2x4s and 4 2x2s. So that's not all the framing I need, but it's cutting so nicely. I've got 6x over there, and then I've got quite a bit, but not enough siding. But of course I've got all this fir, which is better for siding. So my decision is, since I've now measured what I've got here, I'm also going to turn this into 2x4s to complete almost all the framing. I've got the rafters, I think, to complete all the framing and the gables. So that is what that's going to go into. And I'm there or thereabouts on the right size. Seems a bit of a shame, I know, to cut something this big. However, all of that is cut up so beautifully without any splits or cracks. If I put this into 2x4s, it means I'll have a perfect pack of 2x4s. And then I used a lot of bigger timber, so this tree is going to replace the timber I used. I used a lot of bigger sizes, but I'm kind of all right for cants. I've got nothing really big in there if I wanted something really big. But that's all pine there, and then that is fir. So there's all my siding there, and potentially here. And I've got some more over there, so I don't know, this is so perfect. There we go. So I've come out about right on how much wood went into the cabin And what I've got out now, what went in weren't all 2x4s. That's what I've decided to turn this entire thing into, framing. It's a beautiful pack of 2x4s that I've got 82 of them. So that is the best use of that tree. Shame it had to come down, but if it's got to come down, you might as well turn it into something useful. So I've decided to go for all 2x4s there. I've got my 2x6s over there and my rafters, so I'm all good. So what waste come out of that? Well, no waste. I've got 3.5 bags of dust. This goes back onto the ground to give it more substance and turns into soil, so that's not waste. And then I've got that, and that's definitely not waste. So this gets stacked and dried through this winter. This is next summer's firewood, this. That's what come off the... So we've got this pack over here. 3 bags of shavings, that'll all go into framing. I've got all the framing I need now for this. The shavings, the sawdust, that goes onto the soil, and this gets dried and gets burnt for next year's summer firewood. So I've got virtually no firewood in here. All this is just dead stuff. So now what I'm going to do is stack that up here. I've got to take the studs out of these tyres. I've got to stack this up here, and that will continue to dry over the winter. If you leave it like that, it won't. It will just continue to rot. So we'll stack it up and continue to dry. There's very little firewood there. I just need to process that last little bit. And then that's everything that's come out of that job. Firewood, construction, that's all processed now. And then the firewood that comes in over the winter, I'll just stack up as normal and process all that in the spring. But we don't need that for winter 2026, 2027. We need that for winter 2027, 2028. Right, I'm already halfway through. I say already. Let's say I'm only halfway through editing this video. So I already know it's a really long video anyway. Right, so if you've glazed over and left, well, too late to say goodbye, I guess. Anyway, if you're still here, for a week now I've been working in the yard, doing everything that's got to be done, and the results are... Sit, stay. I happen to know that I happen to know that he's going to want to fire off. No? He knows, don't you? You know. Distract him for a minute. Okay, so this is what I've done with all of that. Now that is going to keep that from rotting any further, out the wet, help it dry and move forwards. I went down the road and picked up, this is what the power company cut on somebody's land. Anyway, I put it on top there. I'd like to have cut it up, but it's too late. Why is it too late, Simon? That's why. So I put all my boards on the trolley there. I'm going to put a sheet over the top of that, but not all the way down, so that'll help that dry. I've cleared up through here. I've just got to scrape everything now. So if you're about to say or think, well, that's a lot of work, Simon, what are you doing? That'll be because you're new here, right? And if you are, welcome. Welcome to my world. Right, so that is the sawmill shut down. We will not be able to use this for a minimum, absolute minimum of 5 months. In fact, the chances of us seeing it are slim, unless I deliberately decide to trek over here. I've got to take the blades out, I've got to take my battery out, and anything else that's lying around that I think I might need to use. And we're all closed in. So most of this was done yesterday during the turn of the wind. So our predominant wind is north, northwest. and we've had this strange southerly wind now for a while. Anyway, the wind changed, and that indicates the start of the winter wind and the winter storms. And I don't know why I managed to pick the windiest days when I do this freaking job. Anyway, so this year I've also taken the liberty of putting my log sleds behind plastic because I don't think I'm going to need them. So let's hope that's not a mistake. So all the packs and everything are now behind wood. I've this morning put the forest trailer, forest crane, Skogsvagen in there, and I've left the one gap left for the tractor to fit into. So we are all enclosed in all the way up, and I've tried as usual to lift it up at the bottom so it doesn't get stuck in the ice, which means I can take it down in May. If I leave it touching the floor, it's possible I can't get it off till June, so I'll have to destroy all the sheets. So we're pretty much done all the way back there. All next winter's firewood is cut. This is next summer's firewood drying here, but all next winter. Oh, I've got to put a sheet over that. Oh no, that's come off. Ah, oh, the wind has been so bad. Okay, well the snow's due, so I've got to get up there and pull that sheet all the way across. So that's next year's summer wood. And all my tops, I've just got to put a sheet over these couple of crates. These are all my kindling for the next 3 years. That's how we start our fire every single day. Okay, so this is all waiting to dry because all this year's wood is already downstairs. This is all fresh and stacked in the woodshed. Perhaps if we go this way it might make more sense for those that haven't seen the woodshed. Right, so this part is empty. Okay, so that is all 1 year dried, so that can actually be burnt this winter without too much trouble. And I've got a gap in there, so we're not completely full. This is dry stuff, and this is drying stuff. So somebody's going to ask me how many cords now. I don't know, you'll have to work it out. But what I do know is this shed holds 75 cubic metres. That's what I know. Okay, now what we've got to do is check the glycol level on this tractor before we put it away. And are we going to get the chains on? Yeah, I don't know. We've got to do oil, glycol on this, and then we've got to chain her up. And we've got to check the glycol level on this because we did the heater this year, which I've got to tell you works really well. And I've got to check the glycol level on this before I put it in there, which is not the best place to keep it. So for those of you new, I said this last year, next year there's going to be a new big tractor shed over there. Right, so anyway, we're looking clearer. I just have to scrape the yard, put the ladder away, minor things. The major stuff's done now, but this next. And yeah, so am I ready? Yeah, I've got another couple of hours and I'm ready. The big thing of course is getting the chains on. I haven't even put my studded wheels on the van yet, so normally 5th of October my wheels are on, but not yet. Anyway, how do you know it's winter? Well, because there's the moon right there, the moon, and there's the sun. So the sun won't get any higher than that. Right, that's as high as the sun gets. It's midday. In a minute it will be not rising at all, so we're still lucky enough to have a bit of sun, but within the next 2 weeks there'll be no sun at all. Gone. So that concludes this video. Thank you all if you're still watching. Really appreciate it. We'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.